So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the March 5th regular town council meeting in the green room. And we'll begin by standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So item number 2 are visitors. Are there any visitors here who would like to speak? Hearing none, we will go to number 3, the approval of minutes for the February 19th. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 4, appointments. James Segaloff is here, and he wishes to be appointed to the Economic Development Commission for a full seat until 6/30/2027.
Don't forget to do the amendment.
I will do that, thank you. I always forget that. Okay. Good morning, Jim. How are you doing?
Fine.
Would you like to speak to the idea of being appointed and why you would like that?
I'm a lawyer. How can I say I don't want to speak? I would say that I'm flattered to have the opportunity to get on the commission. I've lived in New Haven for many, many years, and we've had a place in Clinton at Beach Park, a seasonal place for a number of years. And in the last 4 years, we've lived here full-time. And I've spent 55 years, more than 55, practicing law, and my area of practice has essentially been land use, development, economic development. So I think I have something to offer to the community, and I hope you find that I'm qualified to have that opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Hey? No. No? All right. Is there a motion to appoint James Segaloff?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. At your convenience, would you go to the town clerk and be sworn in? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, who is going to be moved?
The assessor is going to, you're going to do the amendment, but she's going to be.
Where is this
She's
assessor?
going to be moved to 4A to discuss.
The tax suspense list?
Right.
So changing 8 to 4.
A,
Okay.
right.
All right, patients?
No.
No, okay.
Which one? What are
We're
we
still
doing?
working out.
Wait, hold on. You're adding the assessor.
Oh, adding. Okay.
Right.
Okay, all
Right, we
right.
have it
So,
here, but she's going to be moved to 4A, not 8A, because she
Okay.
has to leave early.
okay. So let's begin with an amendment. Right. We would like to have a motion to amend this agenda for a discussion of Bill HB 7067 for possible action.
So
This
moved.
is something that's come up yesterday, and we're going to discuss it today. All right?
So moved.
Motion, all right, second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries. Secondly, we would like to add Donna Sempe to the agenda, and let's call it 4A. So that's coming up next. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Sorry, I missed the discussion. Okay, so there we are. We're up to 4A, and it is Donna Sempe who is going to join us, okay?
Good morning, everybody.
Donna, if you could come up to the table, please. Yes.
Okay, so I'm here to discuss the bill because it's a local option for the town to adopt it if you elect to do so. It changes the motor vehicle schedule that we just completed. So it would go from 85% to 90%, and at the bottom of the schedule, it would go from 15% to 20%. So this would definitely increase the grand list, which would result in redoing the grand list. And this would have to be done by April 15th. But before I can go forward and actually apply this, I would need a letter from the town to submit to OPM for approval, and I need the same letter to, for our software company before they'll send me any information to move forward with it. Also in this bill is the veterans, 100% disabled. No longer can 70 or 80 or 90% get that exemption. It's only 100% permanently and totally disabled. So that would also be a change to the grand list. So the whole grand list would have to be reprinted, and I haven't been given any information if there's going to be a charge for that. So as the information comes in, I can, let Michelle know from that point forward. But before, like I said, I can do anything, I would need to know if the town wants to adopt that local option.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I have a question and so the assessed value of a car, instead of being 85% of its MSRP, it's going to be 90% in year one. What happens in year two? Nothing.
85%, it would go down, and it goes to 20%.
So I would like to compare to what it was doing before to what it's doing now. The question is, are we just shifting it to next year? And it makes up that extra 5% it went up this year. So what, in the original bill, what was it dropping to in the second year? And then in the...
It would be 80%, because it started at 85%, and then it would go to 80%.
Got it.
Now it's 90% going to 85%.
Okay. Thank you. That answers the question.
Yeah, and there is information available that you can actually see the schedule. And so I spoke to Bob briefly, and it could be anywhere from like 5 million to 7 million of an increase.
Which results in taxes of about 200,000.
Yeah, I would say that's about, yeah.
Bob handed out a breakdown of the benefit for us and some scenarios.
Any other questions? Chris, do you have anything to add, since you're right in the middle of all that?
The reason that this bill was introduced originally was because the ebbs and flows of using an ADA, the Blue Book value. So that's what they were using before, and the problem became is during COVID, when used car values went up, they skyrocketed in value, and people were concerned because their taxes went up. And so this bill was something to try to prevent that from happening and have more of a sliding scale so people knew exactly what it would be year after year. The bill was originally introduced at 80% of MSRP. There was some feedback, so the governor then changed it to 85, and then now town option to go to 90. Because it just gives, the problem is that you're on a set mill rate for excise tax for cars. So the cities are the ones that were losing out because their mill rates are astronomical, but they were only able to charge mill rates, I think 32 change, I think was the mill rate for excise tax. So that was sort of why the bill then became a little bit more expansive. So that's basically all they're doing, is trying to help the bigger cities that are maxed out on their mill rate. So for us, it's nominal, but I mean, at least it's more consistent, so people can say that they know where they're going to be year after year. Because once the vehicle's introduced, that's where it stays until it gets down to $500.
Right, and they won't be able to appeal for like high mileage or
Correct.
condition. It's just going to be, if they don't agree with the value that we used properly, that's the only reason they can appeal.
Right. Like the car itself, you would look at the book, and then there would be add-ons or deductions. Those no longer exist.
And there is a time frame to make this decision, and so there's, if you're comfortable making the decision today, that would be great, because the additional funds, we can have part of our conversation on the 11th of, what we're going to do with this 200 anticipated, if you go for the 90%. And then again, there's some stuff on the back end that has to be done, and it all has to be submitted no later than April 15th, so.
Well, I have to actually be done with, I have to sign off on the grand list by April 15th.
So that's why we're And it literally just came up yesterday, so.
Any other questions?
Once we adopt this, then this is our way for forever? Could we change it in the future? So like next year, if someone gets a new car, the first year is 90%? And that's the way it is
Yep.
always?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Any others? Questions? Donna, does this number of 7,519,602 include both aspects of the bill? Veterans as well as,
No, motor
No,
vehicle
veterans.
grant.
Just motor vehicle, yeah. There's not very many for the veterans. I believe there's only 2 or 3 that would come off of that. And I think a total, we only have 15 of them, so that's not very, it's not large.
thank you. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Donna.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so that item has been put on the agenda
So
for
do we-
future, but right now, we're going to discuss.
Let's want to make a motion to do the 90%?
That's further down, right? Didn't we amend it to put it further down?
No, we just had the discussion. So you can make the motion now.
Do we want to take a possible action now? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and decide whether we want to take possible action. Is there a motion to decide on what we've just heard?
Go with the 90%.
To go with the 90% on HB?
How do you guys feel?
I mean, I'm comfortable with it.
Yes, so I'll make a motion to go to 90%.
Second.
Second.
Good.
Yeah.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries unanimously.
Abstain, no.
Okay, all right, so that's finished.
Right.
All right, Donna's got her information, great. All right, so now on to item number 5, discussion on Connecticut exemption request ordinance 194-4A and 194-5A. This is a discussion we've had in the past, and Michelle has gotten
Yes.
some information about other towns.
So Mary, you have the, did we hand them out already, the events? So I talked to some other towns regarding, there was concern at the last meeting about the amount of exemptions for pretty much, well, primarily the BYOB option, but having alcohol at events in this building, but there is a town ordinance prohibiting alcohol on town property and in town buildings. So I reached out to Westbrook, Killingworth, Old Saybrook, and Chester. Westbrook, Killingworth, and Chester do not allow, they all have similar ordinances, they do not allow alcohol. There has not been any request for exemptions, to the best of the knowledge of the people that I spoke to, which were the first selectmen. And Chester does not allow it unless there is a liquor license, a temporary state-issued liquor license, which is what we do here as well. And I have the chief here to speak a little bit more on it. Killingworth has a similar Old Saybrook is the only one that's a little gray because they have a pavilion where they have parties. So the Parks and Rec director was supposed to reach out to me, but I hadn't heard at the time of this. And Mary gave out a list of the events, so you can see the growth of events and who asks for it and who has, and which ones have bartenders. The chief, if you want to just maybe speak to the process and what your thoughts are and the requirement and what a temporary state liquor permit means.
Sure. So we've kind of been a hybrid. Some events we do have people apply for the temporary state permit. So all that goes through state liquor control. There is an event liquor license, which is about a $30 fee. But what it establishes is a process of notifying public safety that you're having an event. So I have to sign off on it. The fire marshal also has to sign off on it. And at least we have an idea of what the event is going to be. For an example, when we do the brews and the Summerfest replacement here, where we have the bands and the beer, we have to have a drawing of where the alcohol is going to be served. It has to show that it's enclosed. We have to get a rough estimate of how many people are going to be attending. So on the public safety side, we have the ability to start to understand what we need as a response plan, if we're going to need to staff the event, or if it's going to pose any certain type of risks. So that process is fairly well established. It's not extensive. The permit, I think, is $30 for the one-time event. So basically, we do a criminal history check on the person that would be the actual day permittee. That's the process. So when you have a BYOB event, it makes me very nervous as a public safety official. Obviously, whenever you rent out our facilities, our town facilities for public events, we're exposed to a certain amount of risk. You know, people are going to trip, fall, somebody's going to get hurt. There's an avenue for litigation against us. When you arbitrarily decide to have people bring their own alcohol, that risk increases, you know, it just increases dramatically. We need to have some controls. And I'm not against the events, for sure, and it's obviously up to the council to decide what they want, but to me, a best practice would be to ensure that we have people on site that are serving the alcohol, that have been permitted, have gone through the state process. So if someone is hurt, someone is injured, or if there's an incident because of over alcohol consumption or some other issue related to that, I think it gives us a little bit better of a defensible position since someone would bring litigation against the town for liability, for being hurt on our property.
So otherwise, if somebody brings their own liquor on public property, that's...
It's a violation of town ordinance, and we could charge them for that. So basically, you, under this last system where we say, okay, you can have the event, and we're gonna give you carte blanche to bring your own alcohol, you've basically now condoned it, so you have signed off on it. So the other way, if people are gonna sneak alcohol in, that's a violation of town ordinance, we can take action, and they're acting against the law. When you waive that, you're allowing them to bring the alcohol and whatever happens, so I think you're just exposing yourself to a much greater liability should someone get hurt. You know, we don't know if it's gonna get litigated in our favor or not, but I think the risk exposure is far greater than if you follow a set process where we have to have a permittee. We're already pre-involved, and again, at the end of the day, it's about public safety, so we want people to have a good event, we want people to enjoy the community and our spaces, but I think we just need to have a process to ensure that we're going to do that in the safest, most consistent and effective manner possible. Like I said, you know, some events we make people get the permit, and other events we don't. So there's a disparity in that alone. It should be consistent, and I think the process is already established and it's in place, so we should use it. And we have an ordinance which prohibits any open alcohol on town property, so it has to be waived by act of the town council. So again, the liability seems to me, if we're looking at it from a liability standpoint, comes back to the town because the town has waived its own ordinance for a certain group. And it's never a problem until it's a problem, as we love to say. You do it 100 times and it's never a problem. The one time it happens, then it's a big problem.
So Chief, so are you saying that you would prefer, or the best practice might be if we allow these events, but only if they have a permittee who's been through the process that is allowed to serve? Is that what you're saying?
You know, obviously, it's the council's purview to decide however they wish. In my position as public safety, I would say that there should be a permitting process. It is in place. It follows our town ordinances, and it does reduce risk exposure for everybody. So you're not totally dismissing it out of hand. You're just saying you need to follow the process that's been in place for quite some time already. And it's not an expensive process. It does take a little bit more, but again, it involves us on the public safety side much earlier in the process. So myself, the fire marshal, can see if there's going to be a problem, or if there's going to be an anticipated problem, we correct it prior to the event happening, or we know we have to bring extra staff, we have to pay extra attention to detail, or we can just say, no, you can't do this because we're afraid of the collateral damage that will occur. You need to have people staffed. And if you do the liquor permit, you have to have a permittee. So someone else is now assuming the liability, where we as the town are the liability when we say you can have alcohol, we're going to waive the ordinance for you. We now become that person that you would follow logically. If someone gets hurt, the liability avenue draws directly to us. Under the liquor permit, it draws to the permittee because they're supposed to ensure that liquor is not being overconsumed, that we have people checking IDs, that you have the systems in place to ensure that the event is run properly and we're compliant with Connecticut state liquor laws.
Have we waived the ordinance before or in the past?
You do it constant, yeah. Yeah, there's one, I mean,
Way
all
too
the
many.
drag queen bingos, the Mardi Gras this past weekend. those are all been waived for people to bring their own.
Oh.
So this, to require a bartender, if they want to serve alcohol or to do the state permit, does not affect our large events, does not affect the Beer Fest and all of those activities, the opera when they come and they sell the wine. It's really just people who are having a bingo and they want to allow people to bring their own and just drink. That's really that issue that's concerning. So we're not saying that they can't have alcohol in an event. They're just saying that there needs to be a formal process to ensure the safety of those attending and lessen the liability by following the process of getting a bartender for those smaller events. And the larger events, you know, they would all go through the police department for a temporary permit.
Do you know how long that process takes?
It usually takes several weeks, because it comes to, like I said, they have to file it I sign it, the fire marshal signs it, then it goes to the State Liquor Commission. And you can honestly, if you need to hurry it up, because sometimes the initial, one of the festivals that we had here in the summer, Steve didn't get it in, didn't realize he had to have it, and he got it through in about a week. He just walked it through. So you can walk it through faster if needs be. But I just think, again, it needs to be consistent. We do it with some, we don't do it with others. And the problem that I was really concerned about with the Mardi Gras thing is that no one ever contacted us. I had no idea until the day before, even the estimated crowd size. That's problematic for us. We don't have a large force, you know, on evenings. I have 4 officers on the road, day shift 3 officers on the road. If we have a big problem.
And the council could set a date, like, you know, for events after starting, you know, April 1st, or something like that. So the ones that have been approved already,
Yeah.
you know, obviously they don't need to cancel. They can, you know, they'll just need to be made aware of it. And then events that are booked for, you know, into the summer, we will reach out to them and give them ample time to let them know that if they would like to have the alcohol, this is the process they now need to follow, or they just don't have the alcohol at their bingo event. And we can update the policy and everything right on the website.
And we can put together a quick handbill for anybody that wants to have the event to apply. Say if you're going to plan on having liquor, you have a checkbox with 3 or 4 things that need to be done. Very simple. It's not draconian it by anybody's,
And we're not trying to
certainly not trying to deter, we're just trying to
Right.
make sure that.
We just want we want to lessen the exposure and keep people safe. And like to Dennis's point, it does seem to be amping up the BYOB, so.
I think it makes sense.
Almost like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
How about the insurance? Did you talk to the insurance company?
Yep, and I did report on that. So the insurance company does require them to, in addition to the general liability, they need to add a liquor liability to their COI, sorry. Yes. And they've been doing that. So the ones that have been granted the exemption do get the insurance with that. But that's different from what he is saying. But from the insurance standpoint, we have an email that I shared that it does escalate the liability to the town.
So in the next meeting, we would take action on something like this? Make a
You could do it today.
determination or make a date, even though it's not in the agenda?
You can make it, you can absolutely do it today.
Okay, do we have an idea of a date that we want to work on?
Well, let's look at the calendar,
April
so.
1st?
I think April 1st is a good date, right? Because you have project graduation scheduled for an exemption today, and that is scheduled for, when is the event? I'm sorry.
Drag Queen is 3/22, so we did approve the art reception, which is in June.
Right, so we would reach out to them and let them know.
Okay.
And then, so if you did April 1, then these 2 other events will, but we will,
Okay.
I think we should, Mary and
Act
I
on
will
it.
reach out and just let them know that,
Okay.
we are doing this and to please be mindful of alcohol consumption.
Okay, so we want to choose the date, April 1st?
Comfortable with that?
Sounds good, yeah.
So make a motion to, all right.
So I'll make a motion to change our policy that you have to have a liquor permit as of April 1st,
If they want an
If they
exemption to
want.
the ordinance.
if they want an exemption to the ordinance.
Second?
Second. Yeah.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
All right. So that brings us to item number 6, project graduation for an exemption request to ordinance 194-4A and 5A. Is anyone here to speak to that? Okay.
Aye.
That's I know, Laura.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Meredith Farr. I'm on the committee for Project Grad. I want to thank everyone for letting us have our first drag queen bingo. We raised over $8,000. Yeah, it's one of our biggest fundraisers. So we're almost at our mark. We're hoping this bingo on the 15th pushes us over. I already have secured with the insurance company the alcohol rider that is required for that event for BYOB.
Any questions?
No, I'm just trying to clarify the future, so in the future, besides what she's already done, what in addition will she have to do?
So if someone calls the office and wants to rent a space, and if they are asking for an exemption to serve alcohol, they would need to have a bartender and a permittee and go through the police department and get a temporary liquor permit. And that would require all the few steps that the chief mentioned. Events would no longer be allowed to have people just come in and bring their own bottle of wine and drink and
I
consume
can't
as
sneak
much
my
as they want.
flask in anymore.
And if they do sneak liquor in.
I understand, this is our last one, so hopefully I won't be on the
It's
committee.
a popular event. A lot of these bingos are.
It is,
actually-
it sells out in like 2 days.
$8,000 in one pop is
Nice.
efficient.
Dennis, any other discussion?
No, I just wanted to,
Right. Is
Thank
that
you.
it? So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
All right, item number 7, presentation of the audit. O'Connor, Davies, and acceptance. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning.
Catherine is an audit partner from our auditors, PKF O'Connor Davies.
I'm Catherine Papa, audit partner, like Bob said. So I'm just going to, thank you. I'm just going to bring you through some of the highlights from the 2024 audit. All right, so we'll talk about the annual comprehensive financial report, some of the highlights from the single audit, required communications, some recommendations, and future considerations. So the financial statement highlights, you had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which is a clean opinion, so what you're looking for. Financial highlights can be found in management's discussion and analysis, or the MD&A, which can be found starting on page 12 of the financials. This discusses the governmental funds, which had an ending fund balance of $25,974,000, which was an increase of almost $1.9 million from the prior year. So we'll go into that in a little more detail shortly. You had capital asset additions of $4.1 million. Some of these included the fireboat, police radio console, fire truck tanker, water tanks, and road paving. And your long-term debt decreased by $3.1 million, which was primarily planned principal payments of $3.9 million, partially offset by the issuance of equipment financing notes and a lease of $754,000. Your governmental funds on a GAAP basis are found on Exhibits C, D, and E of the audit. The general fund, we'll talk about budgetary highlights in a little bit, but your fund balance decreased by $367,000 for a total balance of $20,918,000, which was composed of a small amount of non-spendable for prepaid expenditures. Also, committed fund balance for education of $849,000, committed for landfill closure of $301,000, assigned for the fiscal '25 budget $4,039,000, and assigned for town encumbrances of $62,000, leaving unassigned fund balance of $15,664,000, which was 29.1% of your actual budgetary expenditures and transfers out. In the capital improvement fund, your fund balance ended the year at $2,643,000, which was an increase of $2,364,000, just due to the timing of capital expenditures versus the funding. Your internal service fund is found on exhibits F, G, and H. You ended the year with claims payable of $82,000. This was just estimated claims for the 3 current payouts that you have. There was a paid settlement accrued in fiscal '23 of $108,000, which was paid during the year, and there was no other operating activity during the year. Some of your general fund budgetary highlights. The budget can be found on RSI 1 in the audit. Your total revenues were above budget by $2,045,000. This was primarily due to the unbudgeted municipal revenue sharing grant that was received of $333,000. There was additional education cost sharing grant received of $238,000. And then income from investments was $924,000 above budget. You also had a planned appropriation of fund balance of $3,314,000. And then total expenditures were below budget by $483,000. After your budget adjustments, there weren't any significantly underspent departments, but I'll just note that the education line budget was decreased by $350,000 to fund the transfer out to the capital, or the transfer to the education non-lapsing fund from the underspent budget. And there was a $389,500 transfer out to the capital project budget increase, which was funded by a decrease to the fringe benefits line. Looking at your pension, the town plan footnotes can be found on RSIs 2, 3, and 4 for the police, education, non-certified, and volunteer firefighters. Your police plan had a fiduciary net position of 62.48% as a percentage of the total pension liability, so how funded the plan is. Education non-certified was at 90.9%, and the volunteer firefighters was at 22%. These all increased their percent funded by about 3 to 4%, primarily due to investment income. In the RSI, there'll also be the MERS footnote, and RSI 5 shows the MERS share of the net pension liability is $5,587,000. For your OPEB, the other post-employment benefit plans, there'll be some footnotes, and then on RSI 7 and 8, you'll see the information on the town and education plans. Both of these, the funding percentage is 2.29 and 1.93%. They both increase slightly. These plans aren't actively funded. They're primarily pay-as-you-go, so the contributions this year were the same as the benefit payments. Now, taking a quick look at the single audit, the federal single audit, we had no findings or question costs, and we tested the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. For the state single audit, we also had no findings or question costs, and we tested the Town Aid Road, Smart Start, and local capital improvement program. You also received our communications with those charged with governance. This discusses that our responsibility is to form and express an opinion about whether the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects. It discusses significant estimates, which include the landfill closure and post-closure liability, as well as the pension and OPEB liabilities. The footnote disclosures are neutral, consistent, and clear. We had no uncorrected misstatements or no material corrected misstatements. We did request and receive management representations, and we are independent in regards to the town. Now to the recommendations. We did have one significant deficiency relating to the education bank reconciliations, since the bank reconciliations were not performed on a timely basis for certain accounts. So we recommend developing and implementing a formal monthly bank reconciliation procedure, including review and recording of the activity in the month that was received and dispersed, and just making sure that those reconciliations are done timely. One other matter, not considered a significant deficiency, but just a consideration, is the student activity deposits. They weren't always deposited and recorded timely. So just developing and implementing formal policies and procedures over the depositing and recording of those cash receipts. We recommend, at a minimum, depositing those weekly, and then sending the information to the business office to be recorded. We did remove one recommendation. The Education Grants Fund receivable and unearned revenues were recorded in the fund at the end of the year. And now, future considerations. These are new GASB standards that will be effective. The first one is GASB 101 on compensated absences, which will be effective for this upcoming fiscal year 25. This just changes how you look at the liability for compensated absences. So it'll need to be recorded for leave that has not been used, and leave that has been used but not yet paid in cash. So this will be just something additional to look at this year. It will change the calculation. We did have a webinar back in November, and I'll be reaching out to all my clients soon on recommended next steps. The next one effective for fiscal 2025 is GASB 102 on certain risk disclosures. It just provides some guidance on disclosing risks related to certain concentrations or constraints. I'm not really expecting this to have an effect on you. And then GASB 103 will be effective for 2026 on financial reporting model improvements. This clarifies and updates the guidance for MD&A preparation just to improve the quality of the analysis from the prior year. Proprietary funds, it defines non-operating revenues and expenses. And then budgetary comparison information, the main difference is being required to explain significant variances in the notes to RSI versus the MD&A where it's typically been in the past. In this one, I know we're working on an article to come out on this, and we'll be discussing more in the future. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
The capital improvement fund, if you go back to slide 5. That $2.6 million, that includes the fireboat, the leased fireboat? That's a financing lease?
Yes, that was recorded in the governmental funds as a
Capital lease.
issuance of debt and capital outlay in there. And then it's added as a capital asset this year.
And you have the liability also, right? The
Yes,
future
that will
payments.
be on the, in the government-wide statements.
And then slide 8. Got the pension. You know, we're in pretty good shape in the funding of the pensions. It looks pretty good to me. What about certified education? You get the non-certified pension here. Where's the certified?
They would be in the teacher's retirement plan. State.
The state does?
State.
Okay.
The only thing on there, you said the volunteer fire department is 28%.
22.
22.
It's a small percentage, but it's not a lot of dollars, right?
If I remember correctly, that one's a fairly new plan, at least in relation to the others, or at least funded-wise.
Probably about 5 years.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think so.
Can you go to slide 16, please? Significant deficiency. Have we had history in the last few years? Have we had any other significant deficiencies?
Not that I recall. I think this was the first one.
The concern with that is that an aggregate of significant deficiency could end up in a material misstatement, right?
Right.
And we're not at risk at that.
No, this was definitely a first-year thing with the bank reconciliations, and they were reconciled just much later than they should have been. I mean, we would recommend reconciling them the month after. I don't think we got that bank reconciliation until, I want to say, December or January. But it was reconciled.
Okay. And then slide 18. So we're going to start doing that this year?
Yes.
Booking that liability?
Yeah, there's already a liability. This just changes how
It's
you have to
disclosed?
think about it. Before, it was really, will this liability be paid out when somebody retires? Now you have to think about, okay, is somebody going to use their sick or vacation if it accrues? So it'll most likely add to the liability.
So it'll increase the liability because you'll need to accrue more.
Correct.
What's the other side of the entry?
Expense. And this would just be on the government-wide statements, so Exhibits A and B.
So how much money, do we have an idea how much that, ballpark?
I don't know. We definitely have to take a look at it. It definitely requires some estimates, looking at past usage of sick and vacation time, and then also past payouts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Right, item number 8, the tax
We're gonna
suspense
accept the
list
audit.
and the fire department abatement.
We got to accept the audit.
You have to accept the, make a motion to accept the
Oh, I'm sorry,
audit.
that's right. Thanks, Chris. Is there a motion to accept the financial audit for the year ending June 30th, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second? Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Now, number 8, the tax suspense list is... We'll wait a minute, because I believe Michelle's going to speak to this. Okay. Does everybody have the information?
Yeah.
Okay.
I gotta go.
I actually don't. I did, I think. I just don't have it.
Your paperless.
All right, so we do this on an annual basis, and I'll still ask Michelle to speak to it.
Lisa can come up and
Okay, great.
explain the tax suspense list and the abatement. You should, part of your packet was the list of also the individuals for the 2024 abatement.
Hello. So here we are, annual suspense list. This year it's the 2019 grand list. Personal properties, $39,644.80. And then motor vehicle and SUP adds up to a total of $68,192.24. Just a reminder that we're just moving these accounts from the active list to the suspense list, and we can still collect on them for 15 years, which we do. This is just a state statute that we have to do every year.
Those numbers you said were the assessed value?
No, those are tax dollars.
Tax dollars.
Any questions for Lisa? No? Okay, thanks, Lisa.
All right, well, that's just part one, so that. I was also given 65 members of the fire department that were approved for their fire department tax abatement list. So that's your second to move that. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. There are no questions, so a motion? Is there a motion to approve the tax suspense list and the fire abatement?
Second.
Second? Did I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? All right, motion carries. Thank you. Town managers report.
Okay, so it has been extremely busy in my office, obviously with budget workshops and just day to day. The STEEP grant was submitted. We are hoping to hear about the award around April 3rd. Last night, we had our budget workshop with the Board of Ed. The next important dates are Tuesday, March 11th will be a special meeting to finalize the budget and then set it to go to public hearing. Wednesday, April 9th is the Town Council public hearing for the budget. And then immediately following that will be a special meeting to finalize it. And then on Wednesday, May 14th, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. is the annual budget meeting in the green room. for the residents to come out and vote for the budget. The Connecticut Main Street program, we did complete the assessment. I am meeting with them on the 24th to go over. I said it was a 2.5-hour meeting. We talked about our Main Street area, strengths, weaknesses of the town for tourism, and ways to strengthen our economic drivers here in town. So once I have that presentation from them, I will prepare a report and present it to the council probably closer to the end of April. Code of Ethics update, Dennis and Mike have kindly offered to be part of that small subcommittee to revise that. So I'm working with the attorney to get some dates set for a kickoff meeting. It will probably be the end of March, beginning of April, just until budget wraps up. We recently, just this week, got a resignation. There is a a vacancy in the tax collector office. It's a part-time position, non-union. So we're reviewing the job description, and I anticipate it to be posted later this month. And that is all I have right now.
Thank you. Any questions? As far as the chairman's report, I sense after last night that we're in a good position to go to our finalizing meeting next week. And that will conclude our responsibilities. And I've been asked by Eric Bergman of the High School Exchange Program to invite everybody to a March 7th, 2:15 p.m. event in which they are going to let all of our high school students know where they are going to be invited to spend a week over the summer with that high school exchange program. All right, 2:15, March 7th at Morgan School. And that's it. Council discussion?
I just wanted to ask, I know it's a big ask and the answer might not be no, but the Morgan High School girls are in the state tournament, and if they win, which they're favored to do the next game, the semifinals will be next Tuesday night, so puts me in a really bad position. So I was wondering if there's any way that Tuesday meeting could be moved to Monday or Wednesday, or very third choice earlier.
I think the best option would be the earlier. I think it's hard it takes a lot of time to get everyone here and scheduled and public notices and things like that. So it is scheduled for it is scheduled for 7 on the 11th. That's to start at 7.
That's a workshop, right? That's just us?
It's a special meeting.
No, it's a special meeting and to finalize the budget and then to send it to public hearing. So that's where we would sit with the laptop and plug in changes and all of that. So it is a very important meeting.
I wouldn't do earlier because I don't know if Chris could be back.
Okay.
So.
I don't know schedule-wise because it has to be posted.
48 hours?
Yeah, I just think,
It's today.
and I don't even know my schedule. I don't know availability.
Monday, so you could post it today, a change, and we could be Monday or Wednesday, right? We got 48 hours.
We have to look at the calendar to see if availability and if everyone's able to attend.
And if everyone can come.
And that's, I understand, but if.
So can we at least try that? I'd like Chris to be there.
Yeah,
We can't.
I had to ask. I understand if we can't, but it would be nice if we could. If we can't, that's fine.
So you're saying Monday or Wednesday?
Any other day besides Tuesday, but I just said Monday or Wednesday would work. Yeah.
But you're free Monday and Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'll send out an email, and if you guys could look at it with some suggestions.
We'll do it fast.
I have to look at my calendar. I think I may actually have something.
Any other discussion? Any council liaison reports? No? Okay, so is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Discussion, all in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. All right, thank you very much.